Hello everybody, and welcome back to the testimony of Trixie Glimmer Smith. In the last episode, we kind of, just went around and hung out with Belle, Greg, and Heidi. And, well, apparently tomorrow we only have time to hang out with one. So this is where it's going to turn into multiple endings, I'm assuming, is who we hang out with. I will be doing all of them. But after we helped out Heidi with her stuff and all that, we came back and Nikita was incredibly unhinged. She's been non-stop reading the King in Yellow play. And, it's clearly getting to her. We didn't have any more spooky, crazy stuff happen to us, but we'll see what'll happen now, because now we got a message from Tabitha, which we haven't actually seen or spoken to at all this far. I used to think she was kind of weird after last week. I have to admit, I'm taking her more seriously. I wasn't sure if I could handle a conversation with her right then, but I did think it would be kind of nice to talk to someone. Nah, we're messaging Tabby. Hey Trixie, one of my psychic crystals, the green spiral line one, went missing. I was wondering if you'd seen it anywhere? Hey, sorry Tabby, I haven't seen it. When did it go missing? No worries. Someone today, I think. Oh no, I'll keep an eye out for it. Hey Tabby, do you know the King in Yellow? Sorry not to bug you, just wondering if you're not busy. Oh, yes, the infamous haunted play. I know it. Can't say I've read it though. Why? You researching it or something? I heard it's generally a bad idea. Not to discourage you, I bet it'd be great study for next year. Haha, no. I'm not gonna read it. I'm pretty sure it doesn't even exist anymore. I was just wondering if you knew much about it. You're a good student. Well, I have to be if I want to be a student union president next year, right? I read a few books on it at the uni library. Maybe you could get them out? The notes of Grand Inquisitor Wilhelm were really good for obvious reasons. Anyway, I got to get some sleep. I'm going to Wolffest South tomorrow in town. It's gonna be super hot in my costume. Lol. Not in that way, you cheeky rat. Maybe you should come to WoolCon with me, someone, if you're into that. She fruity furry. I'll let you sleep. Thanks, Tabby. I'll look out for your crystal. We better not actually find the crystal. Tabby is nice, but I don't really know if she likes me or not. What do you mean? Oh no. Whiffing. Okay. I wasn't super keen on the idea of going to a WoolCon. Dressing as a sheep and whiffing, or whatever they do at those cons, didn't sound super appealing. Regardless, it was time to sleep. I had a surprisingly pleasant, if somewhat strange dream. I was a clerk marrying Nikita to a giant toffee millibar, and then I married the entire cast of Cyber Dracul Yass from Mars. Parsnip was there jumping up and down, throwing confetti. Let's not go into it. Regardless, it was a welcome break from the horrid dreams I'd had the night before. I woke up feeling a lot better. It was pretty early in the morning, but I sent Nikita a message anyway. I didn't get a response and assumed she must have finally gone to sleep. I could check again tonight. If she was still MIA, I could let security or the campus doctor know she was acting funny. That said, I knew she wouldn't do the same for me. I lazed around in bed for a while until I felt too gross to not shower any longer. Once I was eventually somewhat functional, I decided to work out what to do. Okay. So, saving time. This one. Yeah. Can I delete this? Okay, I got concerned. Alright. Let's hang out with Belle first. I thought about Greg's invitation. I did want to learn to make cakes, but I knew Belle was heading to North Acres today. Given its reputation, I really wanted to see it for myself. I just hoped I hadn't left it too late. Then again, Belle wouldn't strike me as particularly punctual herself. I sent Belle a message, and as expected, she was still drinking her morning coffee. She said she'd pick me up on the way to North Acres. I quickly showered and got myself at least vaguely presentable. Yesterday's encounter with Nikita all but forgotten. Ooh. Belle turned up in her milk float a good 10 minutes later than she said she would be. It was a rickety old thing loaded with surprisingly small amount of milk. North Acres evidently didn't get through a lot of it.
Hey, Trixie. Hope I didn't keep you waiting. Haha.
No, not at all. Much.
A bit. Well, you better hop on board.
I hopped on board.
I'd tell you to put the seatbelt on, but there isn't one. Tax reasons or something, the boss says.
She shrugged.
Still, this thing only hits like 30 miles an hour, so you probably don't need to worry about it. Come on, let's get going.
I was starting to think this wasn't such a great idea.
Nah, it's fine.
We drove along the main road for a while. I appreciated the chance to admire the view. Eventually, we turned off onto a bumpy countryside road. It was paved, albeit poorly. The milk float shook as it navigated the potholes littering the track.
What's the matter, Trix? You look like you're gonna throw up.
I probably did. I don't handle bumpy rides that well. I didn't expect the road to be so bad.
It turns to dirt pretty soon, which is actually an improvement. I don't know what you expected, though. North Acres' reputation should have preceded it. You've got to be about the only person who actually wants to visit North Acres. I'll tell you, if I could get out of the milk run here, I would.
I mean, half the reason I chose to move to Blue Hill County was because there's so many interesting places to visit. Well, that, and I meant it was a nice distance away from my parents. But, I mean, like, North Acres has such a strange history and reputation. And besides that, there's the lake. Standing Stone Barrow. Cyberjack Cool Yes from Mars World, the best fan-made theme park for Cyberjack Cool Yes fans. So I hear. And I keep meaning to visit that old bird settlement in the woods. Caw Breachery. I'm kind of interested in bird history recently.
Breachery, huh? Might be nice. Get some of that old-fashioned learning done. I'm more of a street smarts gal myself. I know the name of every street in town. You got it in my line of work.
I don't think Belle knew what street smarts actually meant, or she was joking. It could be hard to tell with her sometimes. Belle was right. We hit the dirt road and the float stopped shaking. We wound slowly upwards into the hilly North Acres. We eventually trundled into Ovington, the largest village in the area. It was about what I'd expected. It looked like it hadn't changed since the Dark Age, and the buildings were old-fashioned, but kept in surprisingly good condition. Could almost have been mistaken for a normal old village if not for the strange effigies hanging from every house.
Oh, tasty.
Each was clearly handmade by the house's occupiers, but they all depicted the same thing, an elongated prehistoric deer skull with a tangle of twigs for antlers. Large rags of black cloth hung from them like tattered cloak. I recognized the creepy things immediately as depictions of the antlered tree, a strange woodland entity that I'd read about in some library book about local monsters and myths. North Acres was infamous for their worship of it. The details were fuzzy, but I recalled it being some kind of harvest god. Supposedly, it provided food for the region during the long ash storms of the Dark Age. Strangely, the area didn't seem to have any farms. No crops, no sheep, not even imports other than Belle's milk. And yet, it still functioned. Creepy.
Weird place, huh? It's like a history or something.
Like a history?
Yeah, old, right?
Oh, yeah, it's pretty old-fashioned and creepy. I bet they all voted for the Conservatives. Okay. Sorry, I'll try not to inject too much political commentary into my statement. Though I'm sure since you all work for the university, you don't like the Conservatives either. Belle pulled up outside an old house. It was an impressive stone brick building. Way nicer than town's crummy modern buildings. Kinda wanted to take a photo, but remembered last time I did that, my phone briefly caught fire.
Okay, Trixie. I'm gonna go hand out this street's milk. You okay waiting here?
Oh, sure, I'll wait. Thing to look at, right? I was about to get another look at the poster when I heard the sound of smashing glass. I turned to see Belle, milk and glass littering the ground under her. Geez, Belle, are you alright? What happened?
Hooves, am I right?
I'd been wondering how she would pick up the bottles with her hooves. Cows aren't exactly famous for their ability to hold things. Belle managed to get a hold of a few more bottles. Belle managed to get a hold of a few other bottles and made her way down the road. I noticed a poster on the building next to me. It was hard to make out with my eyesight, but it looked kind of interesting. I hopped out of the float, looking around. I was glad the street seemed to be deserted. I think I'd seen one local scowling at us when we first entered the village, and no one since. The poster depicted the same entity as the effigies decorating the area.
All residents are invited again to the Church of the Flesh Mother. August 28th, our Mass. Please bring gifts.
Ew, Flesh Mother? Sounds a little natal to me. Gross. No wonder most cults died out when we got internet and people had better stuff to do than worship a tree.
What you up to, partner? Went for a wander?
I thought I'd stretch my legs. Are you done already?
Ha, no. I've only done the one street. Got a few more here, then there's Wilshire, Oak Hill, Millsmith on Drought, Millsmith under hill, and then Overton Church up on the hill. Come on, let's get moving.
We drove slowly between each of the stops. All of the settlements were largely the same. A few old houses, posters for the celebration, and strange effigies. With the heat starting to beat down on me, North Acres was somewhat outstaying its welcome.
So, what is it you study at university then? Like ghosts? Ghost houses?
No, what? I mean, I wish. That sounds fun. No, I study regional history and culture, like local histories and stuff. I read some books about Blue Hill history back in college and thought it would be fun to learn about.
Sounds fun. What job you looking to go into?
Ooh. I haven't thought that far ahead yet.
Lincoln's overrated. You should enjoy yourself while you're youngin', before the world work crushes your soul forever.
I'm pretty sure Belle's only like a year or two older than me, so I didn't really appreciate your calling me youngin'. We rolled to a stop at the end of a long driveway. A brick gate decorated by another of the weird effigies guarded a long dirt path which winded out of sight. A plaque confirmed that it was the church overlooking Overton.
You okay to wait here, Trix? I gotta walk all the way up to the church and drop the milk off. Last time I took the float up the path, some old guy yelled at me for disturbing the dirt.
Oh, sure, I can wait.
Belle climbed out of the float
And grabbed a couple of bottles. This time, she only dropped one. She waved to me, then set off up the driveway. I slouched in my seat. Today has been interesting. The weather was great, and it had been nice to get outside after the last few months of staying in my room 24 hours a day. And perhaps more importantly, after the weirdness of the last few days, Belle had vanished up the track by now, and I had no way of telling how far it went through the woods. I squinted, and I think even without my shitty eyesight, I wouldn't have been able to spot the church through the thick tree line. Suddenly, I caught movement out of the corner of my eye. The effigy had turned to face me. Had the wind blown it? I hadn't felt any wind. No, I'd have noticed a breeze, I was sure of it. The effigy stared into me with its empty wooden eyes. My stomach growled. I was starving. I heard a snap in the woods behind me and spun around. There was nothing there. I stared into the trees, not wanting to look away or blink till I was sure I was alone. My eyes became strained and blurry with tears. When I eventually turned back to the hanging effigy, I screamed. A hanging horror had moved from the right side of the gate to the left. I was sure of it. I screamed and grabbed one of Belle's emergency raincoats from behind my seat. I dropped into the foot area of the seat and cowered under the coat, shaking. This place was wrong. It was cursed, I knew it. I was hiding for a long while. 10, maybe 15 minutes. Had Belle forgotten me? Had she been kidnapped by crazed locals and set on fire as a sacrifice? Did she have to run home to turn the oven off? Suddenly, the coat was yanked away from me, the bright summer sun hurting my eyes before my long, dark imprisonment.
Trixie?
Belle looked more than a little weirded out. Let's admit. Yeah, I freaked out a little bit. Sorry, Belle. The creepy effigy thing turned around and looked at me.
Well, I'm sure it was the wind, hun. No need to worry, she chuckled. Come on, there's like 3 more stops, then we can head back to town and get lunch. Sound good?
I crawled back up under the seat and nodded. Sorry, Belle. I felt really stupid. I was pretty sure Belle was embarrassed on my behalf.
No worries, hon. This place gives me the creeps, too. The heat's probably getting to your head, you know?
She was right. This entire area felt off. I thought back to everything I'd heard about the North Acres and shuddered.
So, lunch, yeah? At Greg's?
Lunch sounds good. We trotted along North Acres dirt roads a while longer, stopping at the occasional secluded cottage to drop off a bottle of milk. I was thankful that Belle never had to walk up any long drives without me. I'd calmed down a little. The effigy had really spooked me. Belle was probably right. The heat wasn't good for me. Besides, the roads here had probably shaken my brain like a bottle of fizzy drink. It had been my imagination, I hoped.
Hey, Greg.
Hi, Belle. Trixie. How are you two doing?
Bad as always. I've been taking Trixie along on the milk run.
Wow, sounds exciting. I ended up getting a bunch of cupcakes, and I think Belle got a coffee and like 20 vegetable rolls or something.
So, Greg, I was hoping everyone would be down the attic mouse tomorrow night. You two want to come along?
Oh, geez. I love to, Belle, but I have some stuff going on tomorrow night, though.
Oh, anything fun?
No! Really boring stuff.
Yeah? What you doing?
Sacrificing my friends. Greg's face blinked off for like 10 seconds. I was about to ask if they were okay when they finally spoke up. Tax! It's almost the end of the tax year. I'm gonna drink 1590 drinks and work out all my tax returns. Neither me or Belle really knew enough about tax to really question that, though Greg's eyes flitted back and forth guiltily, and they looked like they might have been breaking out into a nervous sweat. I feared maybe they were fiddling with the books. Naughty.
Well, that's too bad, Greg. What about you, Trixie?
I wanted to, but I thought I'd better check on Nikita. I was pretty pissed that someone I basically hate had become someone I felt responsible for looking after. Sorry, Belle. I have to do my coursework tonight. It's due pretty soon, and I haven't really started.
Dang, that's a shame. Hopefully Heidi and Rose can come along. Or it's just me by myself again. Oh, well, I'm sure I can hit some cuties if that happens.
She forced a smile. I think she was a little sad.
Right, Trixie. Let's get you back to uni. I don't want you getting in the way of your degree. I don't know what that laugh was.
I was pretty glad to be back. It was getting way too hot outside.
So, Trix, you want to come out again? You just let me know, okay?
For sure, Belle. Thank you for taking me today. It was really interesting. Belle gave me a wave and sped off as fast as her rickety float could manage, which, admittedly, was pretty slow. According to Poppygon.com, Cyberdeck Yes from Mars was getting a reboot, so that was cool. Cyberbat Razor had a new design, somehow even hotter than the old one. Irrelevant, sorry again. That was some pretty exciting news, but pretty soon that night took a turn for the worse. I'd had a nice day with Belle and spent most of the evening online and looking up information about North Acres. It was as sparse as expected, but nothing I didn't already know. Eventually, I managed to get to sleep, only to be immediately woken up by knocking at my door. If it was Nikita, she'd be shouting abuse at me by now, so who was it? Trixie, this is important. We need to talk. It's about the King in Yellow. My blood froze. I'd completely forgotten to check on Nikita. By the sound of it, she deteriorated. I shouted a mess of words at her, my half-asleep mouth barely functioning. The knocking stopped. I managed to get my clothes on and I opened the door. Trixie, sit with me. She took a seat on my bed, the King in Yellow clutched in her hands. I was taken aback. Nikita always looked faintly repulsed by my hygiene. She would never normally consider touching any of my stuff. Nikita, are you okay? Trixie, shut up, I'm fine. Now sit and listen to me. I'd already told you this is important. She didn't look fine. She looked even worse than last time I saw her. I nervously sat down. My eyes were drawn to the closed play. It was only a book, but it seemed to suck the air out of the room. I felt cold, confused, scared. Trixie, I finished reading it.
It says so much. I can't. You need to read it for yourself to understand. It's just so... I can't explain. My head is a maelstrom. But Trixie, my point is I'm in this play. Or I mean, I can tell it's supposed to be me. Trixie, I'm the heir to the broken throne. I'm the heir to the Carcosa. I was dumbstruck.
What was Nikita on about? She was a character in some old play? The heir to a fictional city? It was madness. Nikita, I think you need to sleep. You're not making any sense. How about you wait here and I get someone out?
Trixie, you are not going to get me sectioned. Don't you dare accuse me of being sick or mad, or... We both know I'm smarter than you, so shut up and listen to me.
Her eyes bore into me with genuine malice. She was scaring me. Let's let the crazy one continue. Okay. I'm sorry, Nikita, listen. She stood up, pacing for a moment, the book still in her hands. Eventually, she stood over me, trying to look tall. I leaned back a little, hoping if she got what she wanted, she would calm down a little.
I'm the heir to Carcosa, Trixie.
At first, I didn't believe, but all the signs are there. I've got this. I've had it since I was born. She pointed the white freckles on her face. You recognize them, right? The Heidi's, the constellation, the eternal prison of Carcosa. I gazed at Nikita's face. It was hard to be sure, but her markings were definitely familiar. I'd seen them before in my vision of Carcosa that night in my dreams. I see it. I mean, it's hard to tell. I don't know much about stars. That seemed to placate Nikita somewhat, but she still seemed pretty unhappy with my lack of certainty. Look, Trixie, just read the play. It's not just the markings, there's so much. Nikita dragged my desk over to the bed, screeched across the floor, but I didn't want to stop her. She sat down next to me again and placed the King of Yellow on the desk. Read, please. You'll understand. I looked down at the play. Ever since I'd first laid eyes on the book, I'd been back in my mind. I wanted to read it. I carefully reached out and ran my hand across the cover. It was cold. Open it, Trixie. We don't have forever. Opened the King in Yellow. Oh, I opened the King of Yellow. Well, it's the only option. I don't want to. What if we just sit here and chill for a while? Alright. Open the King of Yellow. A lot of time passed. Initially, I was disinterested. Nikita had obviously been skimping on sleep. A play written over a century ago did not reference her. It could not. Strangely, I remember little to nothing of the play's contents. It seemed to pass through my mind like wind. But while I remember little, in my mind I still see the black stars hanging in the sky, the rolling clouds breaking against the dread galleys of the Imperial Navy and the terrible remains of the broken throne. When Nikita saw me finish Act 1, she spoke for the first time since we had opened the play. Do you see it yet? Do you see me? No, Nikita, there's never been any mention of an heir, or you, or anything. It's just, oh geez, I don't even want to know how to describe it. What is this? What are you saying? You can't see me. Can't you read? Give it back, you incompetent... She wrestled me for the book. My desk toppled over in the struggle. I needed the play. It was mine now. Give it to me, Nikita. I realized I'd let go to shout at her. I quickly grabbed it again, but it was too late. Nikita shoved me and I tumbled to the floor. As I fell through the air, I caught a glimpse of the first line of the second act. In that moment, I saw only a blur of ink scrawled onto a yellowed page. I'm not even sure I truly read it, but it left an imprint on my mind nevertheless. More than anything else that happened in the first few days, no matter how bad it got, nothing compared to this. If I could destroy all memories of this year, my new friends, my education, even my transition, I would. For the opening of the second act, The King in Yellow was terrible, unlike anything imaginable. I hit the ground with a thud, my head spun and my vision blurred. A feeling of dread, the likes of which I had never known, hit me like a gunshot. My head felt light as I raised my hands to indicate my surrender. They shook as if I was about to faint. What I read in that book stays with me even to this day. I have no intention to repeat it here. At least lest rereading it bring me new, more terrible insights. That line changed everything. Nikita was right. The broken throne belonged to her. You believe me now, don't you, Trixie? Never doubt me again. Nikita grabbed a pair of crazy scissors off my desk and brandished them threateningly. I wasn't too worried. They were a bit too bulky. Plastic to make a proper weapon, but Nikita was still scaring me. Now get out. Get out of here. I never should have let you read this. You don't deserve it. But this is my room. A small semblance of normality returned to Nikita's face. She seemed to have snapped out of a fury. I needed to use this chance to calm her down. Oh no. I don't know. Let me just... Nikita, I was wrong. Please just put away the weapon and calm down. You're scaring me. It was too late. Nikita seemed convinced I was her enemy. She glared at me, her eyes filled with an anger, matched only by the cloud waves of Heidi. You saw my calling inked into that page, Trixie. Whether you want to admit it or not, you have always known where I was headed. To Carcosa, to the broken throne. My head hurt at the mention of the Forsaken City. Surely Nikita couldn't truly intend to sit upon its throne. Look, Trixie, you had your chance to join me as my underling. But it's clear the decay of this world, its silly parties, and the fun have ruined you. You could have shined as bright as the twin suns. Disappointing. She took off, running from my room with the play and her weapon. I was left alone on the floor, a trembling mess. I scrambled for the door and managed to lock it, my heart thudding in my chest as my mind tossed and turned like a dreaded fleet at anchor. I should have been more worried about Nikita. She was clearly a danger to herself and others. But all I could think about was the King in Yellow. I only remember parts of the night that followed. My mind raced almost non-stop. Every now and again I'd fall asleep, only to wake up elsewhere in my room. On one occasion, I woke up in the middle of the university's courtyard, alone and cold, but thankfully clothed. How I had gotten through security on the front desk, I don't know. At some point, my phone buzzed. Nikita was messaging me. Why didn't you believe me, Trixie? You had your chance to serve me at the foot of the broken throne and rule the city of decay. Why did you have to ruin it? The king's tattered hand will guide me, alone through the path you made for me. The twin skulls will guide me to the twin suns that never ends under the pale moon, under the black stars, under the bleeding sky. This is what I was meant to be. Always I was meant to be the ruler I was meant to be. Do not be scared, Trixie. You know this is right. You know this is the way things are supposed to be. You know I am kind. I will not allow the king to harm you when the gate opens. I promise. I continued in that manner for a long time. Maybe hundreds of messages from Nikita, all completely incomprehensible. She seemed to be set upon sitting on the broken throne underneath the rotten spire of Carcosa. My phone started buzzing almost non-stop. Similar messages poured through from hundreds of unknown numbers. I tried to block them, but more and more kept flooding through. Were all these coming from Nikita? Did she have friends, or was this something far worse? Nikita had a weapon. She was unstable. I thought about how she had spoken earlier that night. It had scared me. I needed help, but who would believe me? I didn't want to burden Belle with it. Belle seemed a little too chill to be able to handle this kind of situation. No offense to her. There was the police. I didn't like them, but maybe they were my only hope. The police can't help. The police had already ignored me when I reported possible murder evidence once. Why would they care if someone stole a play script I didn't even really own, and my crazy scissors, which struggled to cut through cardboard? I gave up. This was my problem to deal with alone. The most distinct, terrifying moment I recall was at maybe 4 a.m. I was laying awake when I noticed a figure stood at my door, tall, robed, and stood perfectly still. I held my breath and shut my eyes. I don't know how long they were shut, but eventually I opened them again. My breathing was ragged as I focused. There was no one there. The King in Yellow had left. I shivered. I was being watched. Nikita had a guardian. Eventually, I managed some small amount of restful sleep, an hour or two at most. When I awoke, I remembered what happened with Nikita all too well. I could remember reading The King in Yellow, but after that, nothing. Parts of it seemed to be a dream, or my imagination, or something worse. There was no wall between reality and madness. I couldn't trust anything, but I knew Nikita was dangerous. I knew she was headed to the Broken Throne. Quite what that meant, I didn't know, but I had to stop her. If Nikita unlocked the white gate of Haley and walked through, we could walk back out. Despite my fatigue, I somehow remembered that I needed to change my estrogen patch today. Desperate to retain some degree of normalcy, I decided to get on top of that. I'd been skimping on my anti-androgen tablets too. No wonder I was a mess. My hormones were all over the place. I downed one, hoping to keep my testosterone in check. With dark thoughts still swirling in my head, I managed to stagger over to the bathroom mirror. As usual, the edges of my patch were coated in gray gunk. Gross. I peeled the sticky patch off, and as usual, I looked like shit. I needed a hot shower. Maybe it would wash away the storm of thoughts in my mind, along with the gross eye gunk clinging to my face. I spent most of it curled up under the water, the hot water masking my tears. It woke me up, but I didn't feel any better. After the shower, I slapped a new patch onto my ear. You're meant to put them below the waist, but I didn't want to shave an area for it, so I'm assuming it'll be fine. I haven't died yet. I'd gotten a text from campus security. Apparently the person next door, I think Misty Darmoth or someone in the museum studies course, had put in a complaint about me. Apparently I'd been talking to myself all night and scratching the wall. Shame. I'd like her, if just because she had a nice name. I looked at the wall. It was true. I'd left some tiny claw marks on them. That was my deposit gone. Maybe I could buy some paint off of Heidi and hide them, but right now I had more pressing problems. By the time I was ready to face the world, I was already pretty late. I needed to do something. After last night, the last thing I wanted was to be trapped inside with my mind all day. No way was I going to be in time for Belle's milk run now. I decided to message her anyway, just in case. I was right. She'd already started her trip to North Acres, but she said she could drop around later if I wanted. Certainly wasn't too sad about not visiting North Acres again, but it would be nice to get outside. I took her up on the offer. Belle must have noticed I was feeling dour in my messages. She seemed to be trying to keep me pepped up. Didn't really work, but I appreciated the attempt. I had a few hours to kill before Belle arrived. I briefly considered using it to try and find Nikita, hoping desperately that last night had been a bad dream. Instead, I ended up arguing on Cyberbat.net for a while. Some poser was trying to claim Cyberbat. Digiraz's new uniform was out of character. Someone clearly hadn't watched episode 33. I gave them a schooling. It kept me distracted until Belle rolled up in her float, at least. She looked chirpy.
Hey, Trix, hop in and we can go drive around or something. First stop, Heidi's. I am lightheaded.
We reached Heidi's shop to find Heidi jamming a broom into a vending machine to a chorus of crow screeches. Heidi looked up and gave us a grin. She stepped away from the vending machine and the bird sound stopped. Belle seems unfazed.
What's up, fucker? What do you want? Magazines, bitch.
They high-fived. It was really weird. Hi, I'm here too. I waved timidly. I wasn't cool enough for these two.
Hi, Trixie. How's not having a job working out for you? I'm joking. You need to concentrate on your studies, young lady.
Belle bought a copy of Milk Jugs magazines. My parents had always told me I wasn't allowed to read that, so naturally I got Belle to let me flick through it. It was pretty disgusting.
Oh, hey Belle. I'm really sorry, but I can't make it to the bar tonight. I've got some stuff to deal with. Crowbar Inc. is giving me shit because I mailed them something they interpreted as a bomb threat. Which is bullshit, by the way. It was an arson threat, fucking drama queens. They fucked me with that mass crowbar order and I won't let them get away with it. So yeah, I have to go apologize to them and shit tonight. Their CEO was a bat.
My ears perked up. I could do with a rich sugar bat.
Dang, that's too bad, hon. Yeah, well, I'm sure we can hang out another time. We gotta get going, though. We're going on a fun trip. Sounds fun. I'll let you get on with it. You two have fun.
She started jabbing her broom into the vending machine. The loud cawing started up again. I decided not to question it. We got back into the milk float, ready for adventure.
Say, Trixie, how about we go visit some spooky places?
She gave me a friendly slap on the back. Ow.
Oops. Sorry, Trixie. You like spooky places, though, right? You're doing your nerd ghost course at uni, right?
Hey, it's not a ghost course. It's like history and stuff. It's important. It's just most of my work is ghost history. So, where did you want to go? I asked nervously. After last night's events, I wasn't sure I wanted to be near haunted places. Still, after reading The King in Yellow, I knew that there were far worse places in the universe than Old Lady Whitetail's haunted pantry, or wherever Belle wanted to go.
Well, Wilted Rose Lake isn't too far away, and you can see Standing Stone Barrow from here. Maybe you'll spot Splashy the Snake and Spooky Beast. That's 2 monsters to look for the price of 1.
You mean the water snake and the altered beast? I mean, yeah, sure, sounds fun. I've wanted to go check out the lake for a while, and maybe you're right. We might see those scary monsters. It was sweet of Belle to want to cheer me up, even if it wasn't stuff she seemed to be all that into. I couldn't say no. We drove for some time, making small talk. By now, my Nikita and the King in Yellow were pushed too far back in my mind.
Oh, what is that in the background? What are you? Take a look, Trix. I think we're here.
She was right. We drove alongside Wilted Rose Lake. In the distance, Stone Barrow dominated the skyline. Oh, is that what that is? There were all kinds of stories about this lake. It only took one look to see why it had such unpleasant reputation. Still, Blackwater filled what was once the Rosefield copper quarry. Despite the summer breeze and the black mirror, it remained motionless, almost entirely without a ripple. The dark water was utterly impenetrable. Anything could have been lurking mere inches beneath its surface. The blasted shoreline and dead vegetation surrounding the water were almost as bleak as the lake itself. Oh, jeez. I underestimated how creepy this place was.
The lake? Yeah. I tend not to look at it too much when I drive past. Dark water gives me shivers, you know. I'm sure it's nothing too weird, though. I heard the minerals and machine oil at the bottom are what make it look so nasty. All mixed up in the water, you know.
Oh, right. Yeah, that would make sense. Wait, does that make sense? This place is a whole new level of depressing. It reminds me of Swindon. At least, it just feels wrong.
I mean, I ain't no miner, but what else could it be? The wilted rose water snake thing?
Belle chuckled and parked the float next to a solitary picnic table. Quite who would relax here? I don't know. Besides me and Belle, I guess. I sat down at the bench and I took a look at Standing Stone Barrow. It was pretty imposing.
The hill's pretty impressive, huh? Fancy climbing it later?
What? No way. Is that even possible? It's gotta be at least 100 miles tall. Further research has shown me that it was in fact 311 meters. But I think my point was still valid.
Where's your pioneer spirit?
Pioneer spirit? What does that even mean?
Belle just chuckled.
I can't tell how much of what she says is serious. Despite the area's strange aura, I felt the calmest I had been since I'd read The King in Yellow. It almost felt like everything would be alright. Thanks for bringing me here, Belle. It's super... I was gonna say nice, but I guess it's interesting is a better word. That seems to be a running theme for places I visit.
No worries, partner. I thought it'd be nice to get you out of your room. You seemed stressed.
Huh? Why would you think that? Belle chuckled, although I could tell it was meant kindly.
I mean, you've been fidgeting nonstop pretty much all day, and you keep staring off into the distance like you're remembering something. That and keep looking over your shoulder and talking under your breath.
I hadn't realized I'd been doing that. How long had I been doing that? Who else might have noticed? Sorry. I'm stressed, but I didn't want to talk about it. I couldn't. How could any sane person understand what it was like having a glimpse of the city under the sunken moon and the white of the pallid mask? I needed to say something. I knew Belle would worry more if I remained silent. I sighed. There's only one thing I could talk about. I'd been avoiding the subject for a while, but Belle seemed like someone who might understand. And at least I'd not have to bring up Nikita's bullshit. I've been worrying about failing uni and having to move back home.
What's wrong with your home? Your parents not happy with you?
No, I need space. Since I started transitioning a few months back, I felt like I'm a screw-up making a mistake and forcing them to deal with the fallout. Which I know is like a super unhealthy way to think. It's just like, always hearing people say that they're trans their whole life makes me feel kinda fake, I guess. I didn't always know this, and only putting the pieces together when I was 20 made me worried I was just imagining my crippling dysphoria. But I know I'm not, and the more I think about it, the more I realize I've always known. I just didn't have the words or knowledge to understand it. It's just a really hard feeling to deal with. I mean, fuck, I still doubt myself, and even though I'm not feeling awful for the first time since puberty, if I'd known earlier, I could have started HRT before testosterone finished ravaging my body like a plague. I brushed the fur on my arm. It felt like a wire. I'll never look or act like a real girl. I know that's a shitty and validating thing to say. It only hurts everyone, trans and cis. I hate myself for thinking it, but it's how I sometimes feel. So, yeah, I'm avoiding home. It's because I'm worried I've made a mistake somehow, and Mom and Dad are going to be ashamed of me for being so foolish. Especially since it looked like I'm probably going to fail uni. And like, changing my name, it was super important to me, and I love my name. I love being Trixie. But when I started using it, I felt so ashamed, like I'd betrayed my parents. After years of support and care for them, something not everyone can get, to tell them that they were wrong about me, it just seems so cruel. I hate this feeling of guilt, like I've done something wrong all the time. None of this makes any sense. I hate it. I don't know where all of that came from. I guess bottling up my emotions for the last decade had been a bad idea.
It's okay, hon. I understand.
What about you, Belle? Did you used to feel like this, or am I just sounding weird?
Eh.
It sounded like Belle had nothing to say for once. It felt a little awkward and wanted to move to a lighter subject. So, why is it called Standing Stone Barrow anyway? Kinda implies it's bear-like, full of dead skeletons?
With a standing stone on top, yup. So, there is skeletons in it. Delicious.
I wasn't keen on staring at a hill full of a lot of dead skeletons.
Not too keen on staring at a hill full of dead skeletons, huh?
It's like she read my mind. I mean, it's okay. It just takes away from the lovely view a bit.
It's the circle of life, hun.
I don't think that really means anything in this context.
I'll shrug. Nothing wrong with dead skeletons, hun. Besides, they're so old they've probably turned to dust by now. I think. I'm not a scientist, but I'm afraid, I'm a milk woman.
In the end, we never did spot the water snake or the altered beast.
It was a long episode.
Once we were back at uni, Belle brought up the bar again.
So, looks like no one is coming tonight after all. Heidi's busy with domestic terrorism or whatever that arson stuff was about. So was Greg. Busy, I mean, not committing crimes. No, he's committing crimes. And the Rose says she has to mark her students' work. Although, obviously that's a lie, and she's in a room marking them all F- while she drinks wine and cries. So, yeah, I mean, if you wanted to come along, feel free.
She looked pretty desperate. I couldn't, though. I was still exhausted after last night, and that emotional outburst earlier had taken the last of my strength. I needed to get home and rest. I need to stop ignoring my problems and deal with Nikita. I'm not gonna lie to her. I can't lie to her. Sorry, Belle. I still need to get my work done, and I'm really tired. Me and my friend Nikita had an argument that kept me up most of the night. I need to get home and sleep.
An argument? Everything okay?
Oh, I mean, nothing big, just a disagreement in literary interpretation. I was close enough to the truth.
Oh, no, hun. That's what's gotten you so sour today. I can find some other stuff to do tonight. Or drink alone. Both fun things. I hope you and your friend make up soon. You must care about them a lot to feel this torn up about a little argument.
Belle was too nice.
I love Belle. Now, I ain't gay, but I might be after this.
That night, I jumped to the basement on Daffodil Lane. I was crumpled on the floor. Blood stained the fur on my side and covered my hands. Through blurry eyes, I could make out Nikita. She was saying something to me, but her voice was too muffled and distorted to make out. She seemed smug, so no change there. After a seemingly endless monologue, she threw her hands skywards, and with a flash of white light and a splash of cold cloud spray, a white gate opened at the far end of the room. The white gate to Carcosa. I shivered as the chill rolled off of Lake Heidi. After giving me a last pitiful look, Nikita stepped through the gate, leaving me alone in the cold basement. For a moment, nothing happened. A strange calm came over me. This wonderful solitude was cut short. For from the white gate emerged the cloaked visage of the King in Yellow. Their tattered rags billowed in the increasing wind, floating like the tentacles of some terrible deep-sea creature. They stared ahead before peering down at me with a slow turn of their head, looking right at me, right into me. I blacked out, and when I awoke, I found myself elsewhere. At first, I thought I stood at the shore of Lake Haley, but I quickly recognized Wilted Rose Lake. I was stood on a small island in the middle. Belle was next to me. Something emerged from the water in the distance. The water snake? I thought. I squinted, trying to get a better look. It had gone. I turned to Belle, about to say something when she jumped into the dark water. I yelled for her, but there was no answer. I stared out across the lake in fear. What could I do to save Belle? And then as I felt the cold touch of spray splash against my back, I turned. Before me stood the decaying spire of the stolen city. The twin lamps of Carcosa rose from the cold, dark clouds, whilst wisps of vapor fell from them like water. The city seemed almost to retract from me, a terrible screech emanating from its dread spire. I stepped back and screamed as I felt myself fall backwards into the icy water of Wilted Rose Lake. Dark liquid filled my lungs and silenced me as the cold hand of what I assumed was the king settled over my mouth. I realized that it was not the king, nor Carcosa that dragged me into the Wilted Rose Lake. No, they had pushed me and the wilted rose away in fear. What was pulling me into the depths was far worse than the King in Yellow.
I'm gonna leave it here. I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna go. Tell me what the weirdest dream you've ever had was. Leave that in the comments. I'm gonna go. Yeah. So yeah, tell me about your weirdest dream. See ya.